Hey YouTube, what's going on? And welcome to Sinister Garage. In today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of an intake switch up. As you guys may have noticed, if you have watched the channel previously, I did have an AFE intake on the car previously. I took it off when I went to the dealership, as I didn't want them to, mark anything down about me driving around with a check engine light, because I do want to keep that warranty, at least for the time being, until I plan on tuning it. So, I went ahead and took that intake off, and now I'm going to swap it over to the WHOOSH Motorsports intake. We'll get here in the box here in a second, but as of making this video about a week ago now, they have released a fix for the check engine light. It is a check valve that you just put in this spot right about here. Is this a little in between area, and then it feeds into the stock, or not the stock, but the intake. So it's supposed to work with any intake that you have. It's not guaranteed, but all the reports that I've seen so far are saying, yes, this is working. So, like I said, any intake, you can buy it from WHOOSH Motorsports. I know there's a couple other brands that are currently selling the check valves and things like that, but you just put it in between here, and you got to remember the direction on them. So guys, we're going to go ahead and get this intake taken off right after I show you what's in the box. So keep in mind, when you order from WHOOSH Motorsports, you get the full thing. You get the intake, as well as the turbo inlet pipe. So we will be going all the way back here to take this piece off, and I will try to show you guys as best as I can how to remove this part. So let's get right into the video, and let's get diving right into this box. All right guys, so jumping right in here, I've already been in here, but the box is packaged up very well. It has really good packaging in it. So obviously, you get your WHOOSH Motorsports license plate frame. Keeping on going through the box. Now this is normally what the tube, the intake tube itself comes in, but like I said, I've already been in there to check out the part. In here you have all of your clamps and your turbo inlet connector, or the piece that connects the turbo and the inlet pipe. And here's that check valve in question. Like I said in the intro, this is what will be fixing your 2024 and 2025 check engine light for your cold air intake on your Elantra N, obviously if you don't have it tuned. Here are the intake pipes, or the tubes that I went ahead and got with the intake. So this is the V2 intake, so that means there's no blow-off valve required to run this one. So I will also show you guys how to install these bits, as I'm not currently running a blow-off valve, but I do plan to eventually. However, this won't matter because you can always buy a plug. Here is the turbo inlet, and then here is the wonderful looking intake pipe itself. So we'll get that open here in 1 second. Here is the box. I'm assuming the cone filter's in here, so let's get this open real quick. All right, perfect. Here is the foam filter intake for the car. So let's get this piece open real quick as well. All right, and as you guys can see here, here's that nice titanium intake pipe. This thing is super cool looking. One of the first pieces of titanium I've ever put on a vehicle. All the pieces are ready to go for install. Let's go ahead, dive right in here, and get this stock intake taken out. All right, guys, I just want to go over the tools that you will need for this install. So, your obvious one is going to be your ratchet. Next is going to be an extension. You will need this with your 10mm socket. You will need a deep well. This is optional. You can use a wrench for that part, but you guys will see what I'm talking about in the video. It's just one of these items right here. It is for the engine cover mount. So that can be used with a wrench, super easy to get. Next is going to be a 7mm socket and or wrench slash flathead. This is going to be for clamps. Another one for clamps is going to be an 8mm socket, or like I said, a flathead. Pliers or clamp pinchers, whatever ones he's got. A 10mm wrench is needed for the turbo inlet housing. Next is going to be either a T30 torque bit or a size 5 Allen wrench. And then also, this is an optional item. A nice longer, somewhat skinnier piece to push on a line later on. You guys will see what I'm talking about in the video, But this one's optional. You may get lucky, you might not have to use it. I had to, just to kind of give me a little bit more wiggle room. Another one that is completely optional is going to be the panel popper. You will only need this, very simple, right here. So as you guys can see, I'm recording this at the end, but it is literally just that spot. So these are all the tools that you guys will need. And if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'll be glad to answer. All right, guys, so jumping right into it. The intake box is super easy to get. This whole stock intake system, super easy. Now, when it comes to these inlet pipe back here, not entirely sure about that one. We'll discover that one together. But like I said, with having the AFE one on before this, I've already taken it off before. I know it's super easy to do, so let's jump right into it. And first thing you need to do is, number one, go ahead and just flip those on your intake box. That way you can have it separated when it's ready to come off. There will be 2 bolts back here. You guys can kind of see the empty one, and then there's another one right down here. So they're on each side. Sorry about the wire in the way. And then you take these bits off. You have this tube right here. So we'll be disconnecting this one regardless, because this is going to be the one that gets replaced. And that goes all the way down there into the blow-off valve area. You also take this one off. And I don't know if we'll need to cut that. I'll have to look more into it with the delete, but I think we might just cut that in half and then put it in the middle. All right, guys, jumping back in. Forgot about one of those bolts. Down here by the ECU, and right in that front corner, there's another bolt. These are 10mm bits, so super easy. Once you have that, you guys will be able to kind of pull up the airbox cover, but it'll still be connected to everything else. So I'm going to disconnect this clamp right here, loosen this one up to pull this piece out, and then back here you have another clamp. You loosen that, and then this whole bit should come off in one piece. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate that to you guys real quick. Alright guys, as you've seen when I was taking it out, or maybe it didn't come up on time lapse. So there was a couple of different things with the clamps that I just wanted to touch on. So instead of taking back this one right here on the intake tube, you wanted to squeeze the black clamp, which is this one right here. You just squeeze it, and then this piece will pop right out. I forgot that there's a little plastic piece in this one. So much easier to pop it out of the intake tube itself instead of this. So for this one, it's the opposite. Instead of pinching the black one, you just want to pinch this silver one right here. And I twisted it, and it just popped right off after that. So next thing is we're going to begin by taking this one out. So this should be pretty easy. As you guys can see, it's just a clamp running into that stock blow-off valve down there. It won't be too bad, and we'll just put that one on there, which will be this piece, before we move forward with, you know, putting the actual intake in. That way we can just maneuver this bit around. Now I'm going to assume this is, oh my goodness, that's dirty. So I'm going to assume it is going to go in like this with the 90-degree angle up here up top. Since it didn't come with a extra bit, we're just going to have to cut this in half right here, maybe trim it a little bit. We'll see how much I have to trim it back to put that check valve in. So the good thing is though, is that there were clamps provided, I think, with it. So it won't be too bad, but yeah, so we're gonna get that taken care of. And then we will be taking out this turbo inlet as well. Now, I already did break one bolt loose at the top. Super easy to do. Or, you know, WHOOSH Motorsports also sent these over. So this is the bit that will go in to that nice little, I think this is billet, but this is the part that will go on the turbo, and it will connect up like that, if I'm not mistaken. All right, guys, a little update here, getting the turbo inlet off. So shout out to NPower Automotive here on YouTube. I had to kind of look up a video just to confirm something, because I kind of figured it was a big no, but to disconnect that, I think that's an oil line that feeds into the turbo to get to that final bolt all the way in there in the back. But found out that you don't have to do that. So you can very easily, well, I wouldn't say easily, but once you have that top bolt off out of the turbo inlet, and then there's another one right down in here, which this one you can use a 10 millimeter like regular socket, maybe a small extension if you want to get that top one out. There's very little tension in it, so you can basically just turn it like that and it pops loose. Now obviously there's more threads in it than that, but that bottom one down there, I used a longer extension and I came in under the turbo inlet. So inlet was like that. I just came down below. Now, if you apply a little bit of force, you can push the inlet down to get to that back bolt back there. I'm going to use the 10 millimeter wrench to get to it. Just a little tip for you guys that are going to do this as well. Also, there's a gasket right here that you will be reusing. Don't lose that, and it might fall when you get that back one off, so just be very, very careful as to not lose that, because like I said, you reuse it. So give you guys an update once I have that off. All right, guys, here's another trick that Empower Automotive showed in his video. Once again, shout out to him. Thank you very much for the help getting this off. So as you guys can see, I put a zip tie around this piece. That is to keep the gasket from falling down in there. Now, when you guys do get that bolt taken off the back, just, you know, be ready to kind of hold it up a little bit. Once again, wasn't that bad to actually get off because the bolts aren't that tight. Just be kind of focused. Make sure you have a good grip on that bolt back there if you don't want it falling in. But if it does, you know, it's not the end of the world, it's just very annoying. Now that we're done with this, we will begin by putting this piece on right here. There's only one way it'll go. So we will get right into that real quick. I'm gonna get everything ready to go, and then I will kind of walk you guys through how I'm about to do that. All right, guys, we are ready to go with installing the inlet adapter right here. So we will need this gasket. So this is how it'll be positioned in the engine bay. You'll see the logo facing you up top. All right, guys, we're back. We got the adapter on, if that's what we're gonna call it. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, to be completely honest. You guys will kind of see it in the time lapse, but I ended up taping the little Allen key bolt, whatever you want to call it, the bolt that goes in the back here, with a Torx bit, and then I got it snug in there to the point where it wouldn't come out, and then I spun the housing up into position. I also did zip tie it again to keep it in place. But once I did that, I got them all in. The bottom one was pretty easy as well. I just used a Allen key. So for those measurements, if you're using a Torx bit, it is a 30, a T30. An Allen key is a 5 millimeter. I don't know what they're called, like what measurement they're in, but it's a 5. So yeah, that's how I was able to get it in there. So we will now be putting on the inlet pipe itself real quick. Also, dog decided to join us. Brutus. Anyways, so yeah, let's get this thrown on there. And right now it's just reassembly, honestly. I did go ahead and move that clamp off the factory blow-off valve. I just need to pull up on it now to get it off. I want to be very careful because it's not really budging. So we're going to get that taken care of. And then we're going to cut this in half, put in that, I can't remember what it's called, but it is this piece right here. And it does not use clamps. It'll just snug up on there. So I'll show you guys that once we get to it. All right, guys, another little update here. We got the inlet pipe on now. I haven't snugged it up yet because I'm waiting to get the full intake piece in there. But the big thing is right here for these 24s and these 25s. So as you guys can see, I have that check valve in now. All I did was I cut that piece in half. I took a pair of scissors, just snipped it in half, and I made sure by tugging on it, it's not going to come undone. You kind of got to spin it to pull it off. But as you guys can see, it's not right there in the center. So make sure your arrows are pointing towards the intake side. That's very important. If not, it'll trigger the check engine light again. Make sure everything's completely snug when you finish the install, but that's what you need to do. So now I'm still fighting this spot right here to get this damn piece off, but we'll keep tackling that. But once we have that off, we are essentially done. Just finish every final installation, tighten everything up, and we are good to go. All right, guys, I don't remember what the last clip the biggest pain that I had so far still dealt with back here. However, it wasn't that screw. If you guys remember that feed line, I think it's the oil feed line for the turbo that, gets in your way for the inlet adapter, also gets in your way when you're trying to put the clamp on here. So it kept putting it on crooked. I've been having to fight it. So what I did was I took a longer screwdriver, took the flat portion of it, and right down in between here, that line runs right under it. So it was keeping the clamp from being able to go right up against it because it's such a tight fitment. So I took this flat head part of the screwdriver, the flat part, the handle, and I went down in between there and I kind of pushed on it to give me enough clearance to get this on evenly to finally get it tightened down. That was the biggest pain of anything I had to do because it's completely in a blind spot. You can't see it. So that is finally on there nice and tight. We're finally able to get the rest of it on. I will start the time lapse now, showing you guys doing that. What you guys probably didn't see in the time lapse is make sure you get the intake tube adjusted to where you can put this on this is the engine cover mount bolt. It's a 10 millimeter. If you take a, oh man, what are they called? A deep well 10 millimeter, you can unscrew it. It'll come right out and then you can adjust it, put it on there, and then this will make it from the intake tube from rubbing up against everything, clanking, things like that. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this on, and then we will finally be done after I put everything back on and tightened up. So I will see you guys in a few moments. All right, guys, we are finally done with the install. That was a much bigger pain due to just that god-awful clamp back there with the oil feed line for the turbo. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I could be entirely mistaken. I don't care at this point. Also realizing I fucked up with the blue. Should have went with the red because my catch can. Wasn't even thinking when I ordered the kit. Might be something I change later on. We'll see. But without further ado, let's finally get what I've been waiting on, and that is the first start, and just hear this intake. Guys, for that little startup clip, the first one, I don't know if you guys can hear it well or not. I could hear a significant amount more induction noise, obviously coming from the stock box, and even that AFE one that I had. Just immediate startup, I could hear a lot more induction noise from this intake. So I will get on the road. I'll try to record some clips of me driving, see what the intake sounds like on the road, give you guys like a little bit of a kind of summary here at the end of the video. But overall install, if I didn't run into the little bit of pains that I did, would have been super easy. everybody. Here we are out on the road a couple days later after the install is done. I just wanted to confirm, everything's on there nice and snug. Check engine light's going to stay off with the fix with that check valve. So as you guys can see, volume's there. I don't know if it's coming through on camera, or camera inside the car. Volume is significantly better than the AFE intake that I put on previously. So yeah, guys, volume's there for this intake, that's for sure. It sounds great. You can actually hear pretty well. I would say at 2 to 3 pounds, like the volume's there. This car, if you pedal the throttle right or whatever, it'll make the turbo flutter noise. It's not super loud. I can't replicate it perfectly, but basically you build boost, and then if you get right back on the gas, it will, or even just a little bit, it will make a flutter noise. Not, like I said, not super loud or anything like that, but definitely fixed my need for wanting more induction noise from the car over stock, because the car does have some induction noise stock, but it's nothing like this. This sounds great. So kind of back to what I was rating up as I was leaving that parking lot. There's a couple things I have seen with the check valves. Not any whoosh check valves that they sell there, but I have seen a couple where they've been getting blocked up. I don't know if that's just the check valve was bad to begin with, or they installed it the wrong way, things like that. So just kind of check it. I think all you need to do is, if you can blow through it, it's good. If you can't, it's not good. Don't use it. In terms of difficulty, I would honestly give this intake a more difficult end of the spectrum when it comes to intake installs, just because of how tight the clearance is in the back with the turbo inlet. That back bolt for the inlet in the back of the engine bay where that oil feed line was, that was really tight to get to. But if you take your time, make sure you don't lose your bolts or anything, or your studs, whatever you want to call them. If you don't lose them, it's so much easier than I would imagine having to fish for them. And then also, when you're putting on the clamp with the turbo inlet pipe itself, not the adapter, that was pretty tight to get into. As you guys see me talking about in the video, I ended up taking a longer screwdriver and kind of pushing the oil line down. That way I could just give myself that little bit of extra space I needed to slide the clamp on. That's how tight that spot was. But other than that, install went perfectly fine. Not too difficult. In terms of intakes, I would say it is on the more difficult end of things, but I would highly recommend this intake. As you guys can, hear it, it sounds really good. Let's pop it in the eco mode, make the exhaust quiet, that way you guys can hear it one more time. But as you guys can see, putting it in eco definitely quiets it down some. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know what you guys think. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you for stopping by.